Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heathen Cantina's presentation of Reality Bites, our Vampire the Masquerade actual play miniseries set in the 90s in Buffalo. We are excited to bring you this story. We're glad you're joining us, and we're just gonna kick it off. We're gonna do things a little different every time. We're still finding our groove. This is a new format. Um, I did notice. Oh, I'm your host, Asmo Daniker. I did notice last week that I didn't get to tell you about my favorite vampire movie. And it's tough because I like different ones for different reasons. And I was waiting to hear what everybody else said, and then I thought, well, I'll pick of my favorites one that they didn't say. But y'all mentioned many of my favorites, but you missed one, and that would be The Hunger. And looking back, it may be my favorite just because it leaves you wanting, and it gives in you that same desire and, I don't know, melancholia at the end. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen that or Near Dark or Let the Right One In or, oh, what were the other ones? I was on the fence about Lost Boys or The Hunger, and I was like, I got to go with The Hunger, even though we've got our favorites. What else
I
did y'all have?
briefly dropped it. I dropped it for a hot second. I was
Yeah.
like, I want to go because it could get contentious. So I want to go with The Hunger or Only Lovers Alive. But okay, I went with What We Do in the Shadows instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Hunger, people, it's
Which is
it's a ride.
yeah.
It is a ride. Yeah.
And what we do in the shadows is what every game of Vampire the Masquerade becomes at least one session, if not every session.
Yeah, at some point.
You know, the gift that I saw gave me confidence that was going to be a good chronicle when Nick dropped the one from it was the TV show version, I believe. But um uh the one vampire who's got the traffic cone on his head said, "We drank the blood of some people, and they were on
But the
drugs,
people had drugs.
and now we
Now
are
I'm a
wizards."
wizard.
And I was like, okay, yeah, they get what I'm going for. The
Clan Tremere's in the chat.
for real, and taking notes like what kind of drugs, what are the dosages? It's fundamental. I can't help but be inspired by other movies as we present this content. 12 Monkeys definitely comes to mind, especially with Barbara's story of how her sire is both psychologically abusive partner and unreliable narrator as guide into the world of being undead.
It's gonna be a fun ride.
It is, and we're going to start tonight with what we're going to do over the next few episodes is every session we're going to start with one of the player characters feeding. Now you can just have them make rouse checks mechanically, and there's going to be times we do that when the sun goes down and they rise from their sleeping graves. But we're going to role play out the feeding, and we're going to do Barbara's as the start of the story tonight because it's most appropriate. I want to point out that Unichronic and Fesnerax are experienced vampire players. I've run a campaign that Unichronic was in, and it was awesome. And we still wish we could kick that one up again, and who knows, maybe someday we will. That was the hometown one for my adopted state, so that was the Bluegrass and Blue Bloods campaign. So that was a whole lot of fun. And it was modern day, and it was built on the bones of not only previous Vampire Chronicles, but also our Mage the Ascension campaigns from way back. Which, full disclosure, I have run more of that than I have Vampire. But I do love Vampire. The other players, Sandy and Arthur, are complete newbies when it comes to Vampire for the most part. And they make good examples. I always think that if you've got somebody who's new to the system and the setting, you should have their character also be a newly made vampire. So you can have your whole coterie be newly made vampires. You can have just 1, 2, however you want to do it. But what I recommend is if you're only going to have 1 or 2, make it your newest players. And I think that helps provide an audience into the world of Endless Night. So I'm going to go around and pick on y'all and sort of quiz you. I'm going to start with Arthur. You can do highs and lows about last session, but what I'm really wondering is, does the world conform to your expectations of it? And if it doesn't, how is it different? And what do you think of your abilities as a vampire for, how does that prepare you for what you're going to get into?
Does the world we're playing in conform to my expectations? So far, I would say yes. It is, there is a normalcy on the surface with an underlying tension of violence and need, and the balance between those things, right? That's kind of how we've all been manipulated so far, whether being threatened or having our food supply threatened or having our very existence threatened. Like, that's I think it's, yes, I'd say it's definitely conforming to my understanding of how a vampire world would work. How are my character's abilities preparing me for this? Prepare for the situation? That's a good question. And I guess I'll just talk a little bit about Jane, because I think it'll make sense more. Jane didn't believe in woo-woo bullshit before, when she was mortal. Jane is she read a lot of science fiction. She has gone to school. She's a natural hacker and computer nerd. She reads a lot of books. She loves comic books and all this other stuff. And it was a great disappointment to find out that vampires are fucking real and ghosts are fucking real. She's like, are you kidding me? This is the lamest thing ever. She's like, no fucking jetpacks and vampires. But they have made her strong. Jane came up in the punk community and is not, and poor for living in trailer parks, and is not she's very familiar with violence. I mean, she said to defend herself, she said to fight people off, she fights for the weaker amongst us, all that kind of stuff. And her abilities as a vampire have really only increased that, as well as making her, a little sneakier and some other things. But for the most part, they've made her punch above her weight class. And that, combined with her ability to deal with machines and how things are constructed and how to take them apart, I think, prepares her potentially very well. Maybe that's why her anonymous sire turned her in the first place, because she seems like a highly useful, functional person. Yeah, at least for Anarchy.
Anarchy has a use. Let's hope that it's
when you're a Bruja.
Let's hope that it's well directed and doesn't.
We'll find out.
You got to watch out for blowback, though.
She's got a temper, so we will see.
Okay. We're gonna hop down to Kelton Fesnerax. How about Beckett? Did they conform to your? Do they have the kind of life that you'd hoped for them, or are they wanting? And how are they going to use their powers to get what they want? And what do they want?
Thing one, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going for like if you took the show Black Books and stripped and made the comedy so dark and got 90% of the slapstick. Was one of my inspirations. And like just stuck in this insanely apathetic goth character. And their abilities, so the world is what I expected. It's what we talked about in every way. Beckett's ability to navigate that world, especially since I'm not as tired as I was last time, I think is going to be great. Beckett is really just designed to be manipulative and in like every way imaginable. Just went full bore on that, building the character. And that's because Beckett doesn't really like other vampires at all. And I love that they are in the unfortunate position of being like the face of this coterie, because they're like, but I don't wanna, you know. And I think that's an awesome dynamic, but I think they are set up to navigate it and to navigate quite a bit without without inciting violence or too many, at least not too many violent outbursts along the way. And it sounds like we're going into some pretty dangerous territory pretty damn quickly here. But I think Beckett is set up to try and, you know, grease the wheels of this machine that we call the Masquerade, and try to deal with the outskirts of that world going forward. I think they are set up to do that as best as they can be. Is there another question in there in this?
No, I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Rad.
slaked, so it's good. the mysteries. I've got a whole lot of spaghetti on the wall. I'm gonna see what falls off, see what remains. A lot of it stuck. We'll see where it's going. I don't want to overplay my hand. It's really easy for me to do. I don't have anything resembling a poker face, and I don't have a screen to hide behind. So I'm not just going to turn my camera off because I'm giving it away with my face. That being said, we're gonna jump on over. We're gonna zig up to Sandy. You're new to vampire as well, and you had an impression of it from
I had
that you
an
had to overcome.
unfortunate impression
Yep.
from a long time ago in a land far, far away that we won't
Understandable.
speak of anymore.
Understandable. Do you think that Barbara is ever gonna call her mom because she's worried? No, like the real for the real questions. I'm curious to see how you're going to deal with the family situation. Do you have a plan for that, or are you just kicking that can down the road as long as you can?
Barbara does not have a plan yet.
Okay.
I don't think she's absolutely, Sandy can admit she's absolutely kicking this can down the road. Barbara is certain that this is a minor hiccup. Maybe she just needs to, maybe there's a round of shots or something, right? It's not really a vamp. That's not what this really is. Like, that's not, so like, it's a misunderstanding and it'll be fine. But, at some point, right, maybe as she gets more comfortable feeding, as she meets the prince, as she connects with others like her who are not a questionable narrator, as the good doctor who turned me was, that at that point, somewhere in there, right, reality will set in, and Barbara's going to have to figure out what the plan is. Since telling my brother to tell my mom that I was absolutely sleeping with the professor, yes, that's definitely what's happening. That didn't solve the problem. No, she's kicking the can down the road for now, but she won't admit that yet. She's still just, I think, in a panic about how to manage this. I mean, she's so prescriptive, right? I mean, she's been so focused. She's been straight A's. She's been, I'm sure she plays probably violin and piano, I would guess. That seems like the kind of crap her parents would have put her in. She's been so focused, and there's always been this structure. This is entirely outside of the bounds, right? She didn't read sci-fi. She didn't read vampires. She had school. There were grades to be kept up. She read the literature assignments, for sure, and got the appropriate good grades in those wussy liberal arts classes. That's fine. But no, that's no. There's nothing about this in any of the textbooks. It cannot be what this crazy old patient is saying. That can't be it.
This creepy old patient, crazy old patient, it's very unprofessional to use that term, but anyway, they.
Well, I didn't call him that until after he bit me and got me sick with. I don't even know what this is.
Well, it's not the clap, but I'll applaud your efforts. The good lord, I'm not even proud. In fact,
you got your own, so you should be ashamed. But you got your own self with that one.
I did.
It's gonna eat you.
It's gonna. Let's hear it for chlamydia. Oh, there you go. Now we've made it God. I have done that in a goth club that we may bump into in the context of this World of Darkness version, which was, in my experience of the 90s, kind of indistinguishable from life. But all the politicians were corrupt, the corporations were out to destroy us all, but slowly so they could profit eternally. And everybody was looking to feed on someone else.
I'm so glad it's so different now.
But enough about my love life.
It's gotten so much better.
Yeah. So we're gonna put a pin in there. I'm not gonna ask you about your powers because we haven't seen you really flex on those yet, but hopefully that comes up. And I didn't know how your intro scene was going to go with the good doctor. He does seem to conduct himself as a medical professional, and he knows his volume of information. If he knows that much, either he was a doctor or he's been in here a long, long time. And both could be true, since you now realize he can look like other people. And that's disconcerting. Shape-shifting and looking like other people is uncomfortable. At least he hasn't tried to look like somebody you know yet. But we'll see.
So far as I know.
We'll see what form the relationship.
Or has he?
Dear old mom and dad. No, it's
Was that him in the curlers screaming down the street?
I like
the
how
station wagon.
You tell your little brother to let your mom think she's right when she worries that you're. This is what's great. You think that, being a vampire, can't tell her that, of course, because you're not even sure that's what's going on. But telling her that you're having premarital sex with a professor, somehow that's gonna.
I didn't think he was gonna tell her that. I was trying to get him to just keep her busy. He wouldn't. He's on her side, I guess.
It's just he doesn't have any tact.
Yeah,
No?
and he probably thinks it's hilarious, so he's really loving the show.
Since you're
always doing right, and he's always
that's what it is.
up.
He's having a blast. That's
and
exactly what it is. She's not up his ass.
Right. And so he's like, Mom, don't worry. She's just doinking a professor.
Don't worry, Mrs. Henderson.
I didn't think it was a whale's dick. Yeah, I mean, oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. Good. I will ask about Teddy, Nick. What does Teddy hope to accomplish, like, short term, and what are you afraid of so far? Feel free to expand that list as the game goes on.
Okay, so short term, I mean Teddy was before Embrace, he was closeted loner, worked labor construction, what we'd call in the queer community rough trade. And since his Embrace, he's also come out and he started to, or beginning to start to choose his found family. And and he's found a place for himself at this gay bar, as admittedly the muscle for the most part right now. And he realizes that there's you know rats in his den, we'll say. And he works for this strong, tough, it's presumably badass lesbian, Thunder, and she's terrified of these rats, and he just doesn't think that's very cool. And he knows enough about the criminal scene and the vampire scene to this point that he knows that it's the mob and it's a front for a vampire. And Teddy's just coming into his own when it comes to being a vampire, and he's a gangrel, and he's got I would say a growing bestial urge to find his territory and protect it. And
Oh,
I think he's I think he's I think he's thinking about how to rid his den of pests, really, is what he's starting to think of, so he can take care of his own. Fears, he knows he's a little cub in a big forest. He knows that there's bigger predators around, and he knows he's not afraid that he's going to have to prove himself, but he's afraid that he won't be able to. You're muted.
Yeah, I was struck a little dumb. That's good. So these rats, what we learned in the narrative is the Ventrue have occupied the niche of the mafia in Buffalo and are in fact one and the same. As far as you've experienced so far, there may be Ventrue that aren't part of syndicated crime families, but the ones you're interacting with absolutely are. And I'm borrowing from historical record. I'm borrowing from what I strongly suspect may be true in the 90s, and what is historically true is that a lot of queer bars would kick up protection as kick up protection money to organized crime. That goes back, like that's since forever, and I hear that there was a pretty large mafia presence in Western New York, where they in the 90s were largely legitimizing themselves through cash businesses and the construction syndicate. I probably might sleep with the fishes, so let's hope I have meld with Earth. So I'm going to need to work on my protein, I believe. Yeah. The danger there is that you have a found family, and it's true, and they're mortals. It looks like these mafia vampires also have ghouls that are their soldiers, and that's something you haven't had to deal with before, so you're not sure what the lay of the land is. And when we get to your scene, we'll explore a little bit more of later that same night. Everybody's going to get a little bit of a time jump, but slowly you're going to come together. And my goal is to have several of you interact with each other by the end of the night. We'll see if we can get that in motion. I'm not gas pedaling, railroading. I don't even have blinders on the horse because it's a herd of cats and this chariot has a busted skateboard wheel. So that's how we roll. And sometimes, chat, I gotta tell you, like in vampires, sometimes your enemies are your snacks.
I mean, I feel like that's a deal, right? Like two birds, one stone.
It is. You gotta be
Resolve the
careful.
enemy situation. Well, no, of course, there's a whole shit where we eat situation, but sometimes that bitch needs to die. Sometimes I'm hungry.
Oh, yeah. See, that's right there. That's why you're gonna make friends really quickly. Let's talk about how you're gonna make ends meet, and pick a number between 1 and 5.
Me or everybody?
Just you, Barbara.
7. No, 1 and 5, 3. I assume it's always 1 and 5. I'm gonna go with 3. Shut up.
I like it. Go
I
7.
self-corrected. I'm high.
Then-
7. Otherwise 3.
The Malkavians gets asked 1 through 5
I
and
mean,
it answers 7. It
for
works.
for real. And I'm remiss in my duties in that I didn't award
3, sir. 3.
XP last session, and the rules for Vampire 5th edition are rather brutal in that it's basically get 1 per session. I'm gonna give everybody 2 for last session. Okay.
Nice.
Don't go spending
Thanks,
them
sir.
just yet. And they do spend the same way character creation works. So there's charts. We're not going to worry about that tonight. But remind me. And what we'll do is everybody will get 1 for playing tonight, and we'll probably have a little in-game post-mortem when I'll ask you some stuff, and you'll get a second one. And I want to reinstitute the Cool Shit of the Night award and have it be what results in the 3rd experience point. So
That sounds rad.
can get up to 3 per night, I think, is a good way of doing it, and we'll rotate that so you can't win it. You can't win it multiple times. You can't win it 2 in a row, things like that. We may not play this game long enough to, get anywhere.
Good model for a mini series.
Yeah, that we may not get anywhere to like level up. So I want to be a little more free with the XP, but there are limits. And that number that you picked, Barbara, let's learn about some of these here mechanics as I share some scary art. Yeah. It's not real scary, but it's real.
Ooh.
We've got your character, right? And we've got an image of the actual Buffalo Psych Center. And
Seems like a wonderful, relaxing place to hang out.
remember I said,
Certainly not haunted at all.
it is absolutely haunted. If you believe in that sort of thing, it believes in you double there. It's creepy. It's been renovated. Now it's like fancy hotel type action, but back in 1995, that wing of it was largely abandoned. There was more modern facilities built elsewhere on the campus, and it was a pretty porous pass through from the
Sure.
art center to the college campus. That's a couple blocks from it, so you could cut through it to get to Elmwood Avenue and the nightlife. And as Bobcat Goldthwait said when I saw him live, because I ushered the show, he was getting a brochure about Buffalo that said, "See the neon of Elmwood." He's like, they haven't invented a bong big enough to make me want to see the neon of Elmwood. And he was as correct in the 90s as he is now. But good times. So what I want you to do is go ahead and hit that button on the front of your character sheet that says Rouse.
Boop, boop, boo.
Because 3 nights have passed. And we'll see if you've gotten any hungrier. Oh, no, you're keeping it under wraps. Try again.
All right. One more rouse.
Getting hungrier.
Oh, getting hungrier.
And this
You need
third
one more of those?
Yeah, but hold off. This third one
All right.
will be real time. And where have you been spending the days? Because it's so bright, you know it will hurt to step out into it. And if you had a heartbeat, your shoulders start to reflexively rise and fall as you look out on the day that's creeping across, and you have to seek a dark, quiet place where you won't be touched by that sunlight. And I say your shoulders are going through the motions of anticipation and anxiety-based breathing, and that's when you remember you don't have a heartbeat.
Right. So I don't that you were not here when some of us were flinging around points character building. I ended up taking. I didn't take an improved. What is the where I stay at? I didn't
Haven?
improve the Haven. Didn't improve the Haven, but I did take Haunted. I feel like Barbara has may have been camping out in a closed wing of a dorm building or some closed wing on campus somewhere. Maybe it's a dorm that is
Ooh,
haunted
dorm
because
basement.
maybe it's a wing of the dorm that was
Okay.
closed because someone committed suicide last term and they're
I can
closing it for
also tell you that
renovations.
like all of the like the humanities buildings and like the English especially buildings are like half under construction and half abandoned, and there's probably like a boiler.
So I think she's got
Not
somewhere on
speaking from
campus
experience or anything.
that she
So you've been to Buff State.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she spent a lot of time on campus anyway. Like she was a very committed student and spent, just time there and getting to know the place. So she's got some quiet little corner where she's not being messed with, where she can hide out during the day. And an old boiler room or in a dorm room that's closed off. I was gonna let you sir decide the particulars.
No, it's perfect because they've been in the quad, so named because there's 4 dorms that surround it in the student union center, and they have been renovating the floors in the quad. Now, some of those buildings are kind of tall. We're talking 4 stories on that, and then the towers have 9. There's roof access, but even though the suicide happened at one of the towers and was somebody jumping from the roof, the ghost didn't take up residence there. And I think this third night or third day, when you are sleeping amidst the scent of thick solvents, latex paint, there was, it looks like there was a paint fight, or just a whole lot of, looks like somebody was demonstrating how to do the windmill and breakdancing amidst paint. There's just paint everywhere. And as you settle down and you know that outside you're in a room with just one window, but it's blocked by a shelf with boxes on it and a tarp over that. The tarp starts to illuminate ever so slightly, but you're in the shadowy side, and make it stop beeping, please. I have to yell for somebody to make something stop beeping.
Meat space problems.
Aw, still in the body.
The meat space beeps coming in.
I absolutely love.
Oh,
I absolutely love that the new vampire is getting haunted by a new ghost.
Yeah, right.
What the
Yeah.
fuck is going on, man?
And as you settle down in the shadowy corner underneath a scaffold with a tarp hanging down, you've got like one little narrow beam to the door and one little narrow point of view eye line over to where the sunlight is, and you're just hoping it doesn't creep any more up. If it does, it'll be down and then it'll be over there. Okay, this is the least exposure. You should be good. But as you settle down and feel this just heaviness overtakes you, in the paint that's on the floor, it shimmers periwinkle as if it was fresh, and you see a woven mesh heel. Step into it, roll across it, and step out of it. Footsteps are coming towards you in the paint. And at the moment that someone would reach you, after those 4 nervous steps stop, you see this slightly gossamer form peeking under the tarp. You see cold blue-gray spectral fingers fold in, and a voice say, "You're new here too. We can be new together." And you're no longer feeling heavy. You're no longer feeling sleepy. You're no longer feeling unaware. You bolt upright and search the room, and it's empty. And that paint is dried, and there's nobody in here. And although the sun is illuminating the corner through many diffuse layers, it feels much colder in here than it was. Nervously, you make sure your barricade is good, and the heaviness again overtakes you. And you collapse into the bleak, the black, the oblivion of slumber. Now you can make that rouse check the 3rd day.
All right, let's see how it do.
Ooh, good, you failed. So
Getting hungry.
you are, and when you wake this time, you're alone in here. The tarp is illuminated a sickly purple that it takes your brain a moment to register is the halogen lamps outside bouncing around. The quad is illuminated out that window. This is a utility room. There's counters, an electric stove. The hookups for the electric stove are there. They haven't installed a new one. So this is going to be like this floor's dorm kitchen. You know, the RA will probably have the one the hall the one across the hall. And as you make ready to leave, go to the door, and as you reach for the handle, you hear the same voice that you had forgotten. Death does funny things to the brain. You hear that same voice say, "Oh, good, you're up. I thought you'd sleep all night. You slept the day away. I don't like the day either. I was always best at night. Want some company on your walk?"
Hey, kid, what's your name?
Molly.
Molly. How long you been hanging out here, Molly?
I don't know. A couple semesters?
Does the name Molly, do I know the name Molly? Or does Barbara recognize the name Molly as a recent suicide on campus? It seems like I would know if I was there and it was recent. That might.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe I think Barbara probably is connecting those dots a little bit, even if she still doesn't think she's a vampire, and ghosts are certainly also not a possibility, but.
Communications major. What?
Hey. No, I'm trying to. I'm getting.
My name's Molly. I'm gonna work for a PR firm one day. Oh my god, I'm dead.
No, you ain't, baby girl.
Yeah, you do remember.
Molly. Molly Sanford?
Stanford. I didn't get in.
Stanford, no.
But I'm here.
Well, yeah, you.
Who are you? You're not a first year.
No, kid. My name's Barbara. I'm in the pre-med program, so we might not have seen a lot of each other, but your name seems familiar, honey. Did you this is going to be a hard question. Did you take a header off of that tower?
My room was supposed to be on the second floor of Jameson Hall. And you know what you got to do to get in there? Shots. But are you the RA?
No, no, I'm not the RA. Boy, Molly, honey, I think you might be dead, and I think I might be too.
It was just a little ecstasy. It was, I split a tab, okay? You know, it was after, it was just before spring break, and we'd already finished our finals and just letting off some steam. It was a party at the tower. I didn't jump. And as she says that, you see some realization dawns in her face as she fades into cool mist. And you're left there alone in the dark with your hunger. You're kind of glad that was a ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't going to try to bite a ghost. They don't smell tasty.
So this whole dorm isn't abandoned, just the top 2 floors. The first and second floors, there's 5 or 4 floors in these. The first and second floors have people on them.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear them.
Can hear them.
Well, I mean, it's dusk.
Sure.
Nobody's sleeping.
Nobody's sleeping. Yeah, and dorms are, in my experience, not well soundproofed.
Mm-hmm. Well, they canceled all the sex ed courses, so you just got to put your ear to a wall. What?
All right. I think Barbara's gonna maybe head back to the psych center. She's getting hungry. Dr. Burton said he could teach me how to feed. Still don't have a heartbeat. I'm talking ghosts. Yeah. All right. Maybe I go talk to him, and because I'm hungry, and he said he could help me, and I'm. Yeah, maybe we should see to that before I get any flipping hungrier, because it's been getting worse over the last few days. So.
Yeah, you thought it was getting better, but it wasn't.
And then I made a ghost friend, so let's go talk to the good doctor, I guess.
So you're gonna hit the north or the south stairwell to get downstairs, or you could go to the elevators.
No,
they
not
take
taking the elevators.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not taking the elevators. Is my little kitchenette, unfinished kitchenette, closer to one stairwell or the other, or is one?
It's closer to the north.
Then I take the north.
Okay. As you begin to approach the north stairwell, I'm gonna have you make it's the equivalent of a perception check. So we're going to talk about intelligence plus awareness.
Okay. Intelligence plus awareness. I'm going to go ahead and roll that, or you want to do some more talking before I roll it?
No, please. It's as you approach that stairwell.
All right. Nope. Someone's about to get it.
As you start to move towards it, it feels, you know how when you drink a whole bunch of coffee and you go to get up that first time and you almost like jump out of your skin?
Yeah.
You just start marching forward and you're like, I'm moving really fast. And you throw open the door to the stairwell and startle to, well, one's got 2 fellas. One has wavy, dirty blonde hair that's been bleached at the tips but grown out, showing like a inverse brown skunk stripe, wearing a Baja style poncho hoodie action, but it's got a really shitty silk screen of of Bob Marley on it. And behind him is somebody uh, in a new era hat with a severely malformed cupped bill and has something in his hand. They both have something in their hand. They're like, oh, huh, you got the same idea we do. Hey, want some wine? And he holds open his coat to show that he's got a bottle of Boone's Farm in there.
Oh god, the Boone's Farm was too much. Your painfully accurate descriptions of these '90s bros hurt the inside of my cold dead hurt a little bit, and then you pulled out the Boone's Farm. It's like a time machine, Tom. You paint a beautiful time machine picture with
Thank
your
you.
words.
We couldn't get any Bully Hill, but we got this. And Bully Hill is a local vintage from upstate New York that's much better and only about $2 more and worth it. Worth it.
Oh, over Boone's Farm?
Anything's worth it over Boone's Farm.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's kind of my point.
Yeah, no. Bully Hill actually has and
Okay.
a little local flavor. Bully Hill is named such because the actual family name of that vineyard just so happened to be Gallo, but not those gallows. But those gallows draw enough wine to water their grapes to have enough power to make somebody, change the name of their winery because they can't name it after their own family. So the legend is, and it's true, is they said they may take your name, but never let them take your goat. So Bully Hill Vineyard's symbol is a goat, and they have Love My Goat Red, Sweet Walter White, and a lot of their artwork on their bottles has goats. And I should pick up a bottle of Meat Market Red next time I'm up there because it's good stuff. All right. I appreciate the praise. This wasn't a planned encounter, but I like that your bestial failure led to you nearly stumbling on them. The bro in the back, he's new to the whole being groomed in public. He's coming on a little strong with his Drakkar Noir, and he shaved a little too roughly. He missed a spot as he put his 90s goatee. And you may have caught scent of that. And you have to, if you don't want to go drink with them in an abandoned dorm, you have to make your way past them on the stairwell, and you'll draw closer to the one who doesn't know how to shave.
Mm-hmm.
So, how you doing?
No, I don't want to go drink with them.
Let's talk about I don't know, Resolve plus Streetwise, or I'd like to remind you can always spend a point of willpower to get more dice. That's how they work in this. And just like when we play D&D, if you've got the dice in your hand, just go ahead and right click to add one. If you must have a success, the threshold on this is much lower, but it's not to get past them. They're not the threat they may appear to be. It's more, can you get past them?
It's whether or not can
you do it without
trying to take a bite?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Resolve and something?
Yeah, I'm gonna say. Actually, no. For this,
I don't think you were bouncing between a couple, maybe.
Yeah, for this, just go ahead and roll willpower. It's not.
Straight up willpower.
Yeah, it's the little D10 right next to it. You don't. And the thing is your hunger dice do not come into play with willpower. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Is because.
Oh yeah. I'll take that.
Because your hunger dice are going to be like, eat them. Drain him. Leave him like a drink box on the bottom of the stairwell.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Okay, so is it?
Oh, just the little D10 that's over the willpower box there. It'll say willpower roll.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
There we go. It's like I can't find the D10. Why is it that many?
Oh, and it still put your hunger dice in there. It's not supposed to, but that's okay. They didn't matter. You did fine.
Okay.
You brush past him, and you're like, That's no way to feed. And you started to think of all the...
No, who is Jenny Durden called it? These dudes are gonna taste like watermelon and pennies.
Shout out to the chat. That was
Shout out to
awesome.
the chat. Absolutely. I don't want to eat this. I don't want to eat this.
That's fantastic. Okay.
I'm gonna regret it. My guts are gonna feel bad.
And as you make your way
I'm
to
gonna get Boone's Farmy.
the bottom of this
Ditchweed.
stairwell, I don't want to drink ditchweed. The bottom of this stairwell, you make your way out onto the quad, and there's some people out there, and you hear the noise and tumult, but some people are playing frisbee, hacky sack. You definitely smell some dirtweed, but this is also the first time you've been in the night air this hungry since being turned. And the coldness of the air has abated a little. It's a balmy 45 degrees. And you're suddenly remembering where there's a whole lot of people taking their meds right now, and you still have a badge, but you're wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Your change of clothes needs to be refreshed, but you could probably make it over to the psych center. There's food there. Food. Oh, you don't want to think of people like that.
Don't want to, and yet, after a few days,
It just feels like
yeah.
this urge is what's powering you right now, and you don't like that. And maybe drawing some will put this to bed. You got about 20 minutes before the night medications are distributed.
Yeah, that's my plan. I want to head for the psych center.
Your pager goes off now that you're outside of a building. It's picking up its signal. Text message says, "You are 50 DED." Ah,
So dead. Is it mom or brother?
brother. Your mom.
Yep.
Your mom doesn't page you. That's what drug dealers
No,
do.
for sure. For sure. My mom, yeah. She makes him page me.
And the strange juxtapositioning of your lives collide with that message. You are so dead. And you think, little brother, maybe I am.
Yeah.
And the good doctor greets you at the top of the stairs. Or no. The top of the elevator on the 6th floor of lighter security, non-violent. It's almost as if he was amidst other activities with the group, and he just turns and looks as the elevator opens and knows it's you. I'm so glad you came back. Would you like to grab a bite?
I'm starving.
And he goes over to one of the doors and pulls the keys from his ring, unlocks the door, lets go of the keys, and they snake back to his hip, and he holds the door open and looks. Got about 20 minutes. And in that room are a number of loungers, recliners, Barco loungers. A little weathered, they're donated. All gathered around a 23-inch wheel of fortune. And only one of the 4 residents in there is still conscious.
Color, black and white.
And it's in color.
Okay.
And before the door closes, he opens it again and goes, "I would hurry before the Thorazine kicks in." And you're left in the room with 3 heavily probably 4 medicated residents. And as you go to check on them, you move up. What do? The one person who's watching Wheel of Fortune doesn't notice you.
So I have Bloodhound, which means I can smell the resonance of a human's blood without tasting it. But I'm also thinking I want to maybe check their charts if their charts are in here just to see who's on what, so I can pick the least prickly bite,
You,
the least Thorazine out
it
snack
looks,
in the.
yeah, their charts aren't in here, but you recognize them. And
Okay.
there's an older lady, 60s, non-violent, but often catatonic, has bursts of activity. They're not violent, but they do make people uncomfortable because she'll stand up and gesture wildly, but currently she is slumped into the corner of the chair. And the other fella, he yells and he has had to be restrained. He hasn't hurt somebody, but that's really more owing to the skills of the orderlies.
Right.
And he smells choleric, angry, fast. Blood that's good to have in you if you're to get into a fight. Her resonance is faint and fading, and it's the first time you're like, oh, maybe medication's driving down her response. It's a HIPAA violation.
There's a lot of those in here.
So your choices are lithium that is going to kick in soon, and dilaudid that already has.
Oh, Dilaudid.
Okay.
Sorry, that's Sandy. That's not Barbara, but Sandy knows what's
I mean-
Dilaudid. If I'm gonna have a sip off either of those, we're
Well-
Dilaudid.
You know, Barbara might say, I just had an hallucination back in that dorm room. Maybe I need an antipsychotic tonight. You know,
Honestly,
or-
I was gonna throw a die and say, you know, even the old lady odd the fellow needs just because Barbara's not she's not thinking like I don't want a metagame. Like if I was, it should go for the caloric for sure, knowing that we're heading off into whatever adventure. But Barbara's not thinking that way. So yeah, we already said it. I'm gonna take a nibble off of that caloric brew that needs to
Okay.
be restrained on occasion by our talented orderlies.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and he shuffles, and you're immediately aware of the prickling of his neck stubble on your face, and you try to move to where he's not as bristly, and he smells like liniment and mothballs. His pajamas came out of storage, and you're trying to ignore all that, and then there's this rush, this just absolute gushing, overwhelming, hot feed, and everything makes sense, and the fog is lifted, the migraine has ended, the scales are drawn from your eyes, and he, what is too tired? Jeopardy's not even on, but he's ready to play, and he's waking, but he's waking because at some level his mind is registering both the danger and the pleasure. The bite of the kindred has an intoxicating effect on those lucky enough to be their meals. And how long do you feed?
He said I've got 20 or so minutes, and I took a minute to look around. And I need to take some time to clean up and
Fine.
not give him an embolism.
And at some point, and this is going to bother you every time he does it, the good doctor is in the room with you. You don't remember hearing the door open, and he says, a word of caution. Don't take life this way. And you can cover your tracks by sealing the wounds closed. Some do it with a kiss, others with their tongue, others with spit. Our kind, usually the tongue.
Yeah, so I feed for 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes of fuckery and cleanup.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I'm gonna say you go ahead and he's stout. He's physical presence. Took multiple orderlies. You're able to slake 2 of your hunger points, getting
That's
back
much better.
down to 1. You'll probably never get lower than 1, and if you do, it could be an issue. There's ways,
Right.
but he just cautioned you against one of them. And you'll want to give him a few weeks before you feed on him again. And he puts his hand on his head as if he was his favorite bit of leftovers and leans over and goes, he's one of my favorites too, especially when he's angry. And he smacks his cheek a little. Well done, child. Can I show you the rest?
I guess.
It's time for a little confession on my part. I was a doctor here. I was embraced in the early 60s. And I've cultivated this herd for some time. I'm perfectly
This
willing.
herd.
Oh, yes,
These are people.
they are. People are delicious. I fed before you came. Otherwise, I would have joined you. This is one of my favorite rooms. And look at the gown on Vanna. Stunning. There are rules, and I will tell you them over the next few days. Will you come here to feed every night with me? For a few nights.
I guess. This. You've got to understand. This is a lot. What do I tell my mom? What do I tell my family?
Something soon, I hope. I've had to erase the messages off the voicemail system here, and it was something to learn it in the first place.
Well, thank you. I guess. I mean, this is your fault anyway.
Ultimately.
Why? Why me?
Brilliant.
Yeah, all right.
You're going to care for this herd better than I can. We do live a long
Okay.
time, but we don't live forever. Not in this city, anyway. There's something else I want to show you. And he
All right.
leads you to a stairwell. You're going downstairs again, and this is familiar. And as you make it to the outside, he goes over to a lamp and waits for you to look at it the same way he's looking at it, but you're not sure what the hell he's looking at. And it's an old wrought iron encased globe. And you know that he wants to talk, so give him a moment, and he does. He says, rather than throw away the old gas lights in the city, a lot of them were retrofitted with electricity. Like this one. And as he says that, it flickers on because there's also a sensor on it, and now it's dark enough for it to do so. He says, I'm an old gas lamp, and you're electric. I need eyes that have seen more of this century in the daylight. I need a friend. I need a companion. I need somebody that will grow to enjoy my company. I hope that's you.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see. It's not like I'm gonna go back home and go back to what I was doing.
Not in the ways you used to.
No.
You can never go home.
No. It's It's a lot to get used to. It's a lot of change. Yeah, I mean, we'll give it a go, I guess.
I'd like you to meet some of the other kindred in the city.
Of course, there's more. There's ghosts in there. Oh, other kindred.
I don't know that
Kindred,
this
okay.
coupon is still good. And I know that they would think coupon's very tacky. But you should talk to the owner. And the doctor hands you a business card, and it's aged. Like
It's from the 60s.
late 70s. 70s, maybe early 80s. It's slightly offset 2-up. The color process is a little off, but it's basically a pit with somebody looking up from the bottom of a pit and a Victrola in it, and it says Oubliette Records. Drop in. And it's an address. And
If you look really carefully, there's an overlay of 2 martini glasses that somehow are arranged in a way that slightly resembles a pentagram or something occult-like, but it's quite
Okay.
a unicursal drunkogram. But it definitely looks to be art and printing of a slightly bygone era, but not ancient.
Mm.
And it does say 10% off of any LP purchase. And
I cannot
think
imagine
I think
Beckett ever
objected
issuing
to that.
coupons. Yeah.
And Billy Bidwell's predecessor was probably promptly fired, flogged, and flensed.
Right.
And given a stern talking to. So you've got that going for you. We're going to jump to somebody else in the party. Thank you for the indulgence. I wanted to spend a little time because that was your first feeding, and it should be weird and memorable when you're a Malkavian, and preferably in a mental hospital. So thank you, everybody.
And we're off.
All right. I'd like to jump to Arthur and Jane. And we got a little bit of a time jump in that it's at least a couple nights have passed since you went to 786 Delaware, the local headquarters of the Red Cross, and found out you're not the only one using the blood bank as your personal fridge. And you met Lester, a vampire of a different stripe. They appeared to be able to cloak their presence, and you're able to suss out that they have a largely underground existence. You met one of the Nosferatus, and you spoke for a little while, and you think that there might be a relation, there might be a there, and you're hoping to make contact again. But as you load your blood bag into your big gulp and walk into the computer lab, you're quite surprised to see a light under the door.
Time of night is it?
It's about 9 p.m., 9:30. It's not
Okay.
It's not
Not
impossible,
unreasonable.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't happen often. And maybe just somebody left the light on. But as you stop by the door, you hear typing. Fast typing. Familiar typing. It's Dr. Marjorie Chambers. You didn't see her Volvo when you came in. She has the 870 sports wagon. But you're sure it's her. What do you do?
Well, she's in the lab, not in her office.
Right?
That's weird. She's working. She's not waiting for me. What's she working on? Run back through her research, see if anything pops. Nothing's clicking. Well, just walk in like I don't know she's in there. Just
Okay.
bust in, just like I'm coming in off the street.
Oh. You hear a
Oh, hey.
Hey, and she hastily does some key commands to conceal what was on her screen.
I pretend not to notice, but luckily I've installed a keylogger on every machine in the lab, so see what that's about later.
She's at,
Oh, hey, Dr. Chambers, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were in here.
oh, sometimes I like to run the code through the dumb terminal. Well, they're not really dumb terminals anymore, but that's what we called them last generation. But I just like to go ahead and run them through here so that I can emulate the user's experience for the code, lowering
Yeah,
machines
no,
than we write it on, of course.
of course. Can I help you at all?
With something like this,
She says, putting her bag right down on the table and just flopping down usefully right next to her.
what do you know about Forex and Telex exchanges?
Well, I've been reading the spec, but I haven't tried to implement any of them yet.
You know, our grant is being held up, even though it's federal. Something about some of the legalese. I'm not good at that sort of thing. I am about to implicate you. I'm so sorry. I'm embezzling small amounts of money that are hiding within the acceptable wiggle room of currency exchange on a pennies per thousands basis. Basically the plot of Superman 3.
What's the
Also the
worst
plot of
Superman movie?
Office
Why would you
Space.
pick that one?
The plot of
Yeah.
what?
Office Space.
When's that come out? 4 years from now?
Uh-huh.
I was hoping Jane would say that so that she could say,
Yeah, no.
but no, perfect. No, and also the plot of Office Space, which references the plot of Superman 3. So
Uh-huh.
perfecto.
So good.
Let me show you. And she logs back in and brings up what she was working on, and you're able to suss out that it's a script, and it's basically just running in the background of these transactions. And anytime there's a rounding for an exchange rate, because those fluctuate, and it looks like she's been bumping it through the Canadian and American exchange because they have near parity, but they're always within a few. And every time it hits this, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 10 out of 10 penny slots, slotted away, but it's been running for a while. It's untraceable so far, but I know that building downtown, the FBI, they're going to be able to sniff this out. So I was hoping to finish before they're up and running. We did some consultant work for them. I think you saw the spec sheet on that. She's nervous, but you can also tell. Well, maybe you can't. We'll see how socially. Like, I'm about to make you. Yeah, you might not be able to suss out all she's revealing, but danger. Go ahead and have you make. Let's see. How about intelligence plus insight?
Oh, it didn't actually roll the dice.
You got to click the one, then the other.
Skill cannot be rolled on its own. I did. Oh, I must have missed the click.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. Light up the red cross of intelligence.
Nice.
Critical success. Holy sh!
5 successes. Can we play that as I had a suspicion? There has been some odd activity that Jane's been trying to analyze. Be like, what is this? Through the computer lab traffic.
Yeah, and her behavior. This isn't the first time you've sort of startled her working late. Usually she's in her office, and you're thinking maybe there was other times I didn't startle her because you would sometimes have your headphones on and come in singing Operation Ivy, and she would get advance notice that you were en route. So
Yep.
You're thinking, yeah, she's been doing this for a while, but she's got a sense of urgency to her. There's something she's done wrong, and she doesn't know what to ask or how to ask it. So she's asking for your help, but she's also implicating you and making you an accessory. I believe it's called accessory after the fact. There is a law program here, and I've bought a few drinks for some of their honor students.
Well, what's this character? What's this person's name again? Dr.
Marjorie Chambers.
Dr. Chambers.
She's the head of the computer science department at State University of New York at Buffalo, and she's brilliant. And her pet project is actually teaching preliminary flowcharts to exhibit human characteristics in emerging chat environments. So she's basically inventing chatbots.
Mhm.
Did I mention all my NPCs are based on old friends and relations? And totally are.
You alluded to it, sir, I believe in session 0.
I have people I miss. This is how I honor them and keep from missing them sometimes.
Dr. Chambers, you've been a good boss.
Oh, using my government name.
I mean, you're brilliant. And I thought you weren't an asshole. But this really makes me want to beat the shit out of you and hide your body somewhere.
More of Jane's sense of humor, I hope.
Well, what is it that you need help with?
Hurrying it along. It's one transaction. It's an account that I've bounced around a few places, but it's going to take another 4 weeks, and the FBI is going to have their computer science program, their computer crime lab, up and running in a week.
And what's in it for me?
10%.
Yeah, that's going to be 50.
Okay.
Show me.
I should tell you, it's $700,000.
Well, that's a nice vacation to Tahiti for
2.
the rest of your life.
And
Okay, then she has to see the program. Yeah.
Yeah, she begins showing you the code, and this was one of those things where I was like, you should always see if you can get somebody to make a deal with the devil. And this is one of those where it's like, there's not a lot of hidden roles in Vampire. I like that it's kind of open. If ever there was a hidden role, this would be it, but I can't hide it from the audience, and I don't want to hide it from y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this and change up our screen so the folks at home can enjoy this. But go ahead and make me burn the midnight oil here. Let's talk about intelligence plus. I think it's your chance to shine here. You're hacking.
I mean, technology hacking seems like the one.
But I got to ask what you're prioritizing.
What am I prioritizing? I am prioritizing
speed, untraceability, or profit. You can make it a bit larger, make it an
you want
even
it
mill
fast,
to split.
good, or cheap?
That's so true.
Pick 2 out of 3, man.
It's as true in my day as it was in yours.
Jane is going to attempt some fuckery. And that fuckery looks like this. She is going to attempt to include an admin cutout that is basically just a backdoor, a script insertion that she will write later. Because if the thing's going to take 4 weeks to run. So basically what she's looking for is untraceability to let this thing run its course. Give her time to gather up the dirt on Dr. Chambers for leverage and reroute the $700,000 as a charitable donation to PFLAG.
Okay. Happy Pride, y'all. Awesome. Let's make that roll. Let's see what you get.
Let's
Let's
do that.
Let's see what
Okay.
story the dice want to
Let's see
tell.
what the dice say. Intelligence plus technology hacking. Can I spend some will on this?
Yes. If you click the little button that says spend willpower, it
Spend
should
willpower. Got her.
allow you to. It should give you the extra dice. If it doesn't, we'll roll one more and go from there.
This looks like it has
Awesome.
little tick marks on it. I'll
Yeah.
tick one and then I'll roll intelligence technology. Thank you for your patience.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just a clean failure.
3 successes. That
Yeah.
seems strange.
It was a difficulty of 5 because this was what is known as a
Oh.
hard roll. There's routine, straightforward, moderate, challenging, hard, very hard, and nearly impossible. This was just hard.
Okay. Okay.
So it's clean fail, and as you're working, it's just like, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? This mainframe is being pinged, so you backtrace it, but you basically you telnet and find out where that's happening, because who is looking here, and you note that it's coming from the local net, and by local I mean area code 716 of Erie County. And that's when you realize the FBI building doesn't have its mainframe up yet, but they definitely have a computer presence up. So that's when you decide to go, whoops, okay, yeah, she may already be made, but you're going to have to go into the logs, and that's going to be another time.
A
So
separate situation. Yeah,
Yep.
certainly. Is Dr. Chambers still in the room? Am I working under her eyes?
She fell asleep,
Okay.
which is perfect. I think that's a
I
good place
consider
for us
eating
to.
her,
We didn't make you make
but
a
I
nose
don't.
check.
But I don't. And then sip strongly off the big gulp of blood.
Mm. Okay.
Fucking bitch. Pulling me into this fucking bullshit.
The world of
Like I don't have
darkness.
enough problems.
Sorry. People are, I mean, even those that are trying to do good sometimes end up doing bad, and they try to do good and it backfires.
We are
So-
definitely no longer on the same team, though. Me and Dr. Chambers.
It's true. She was trying to embezzle and you caught her.
And then she started putting me under the bus with her. Unacceptable. That's not how this works.
No, I think she was going to try to put you under the bus exclusively.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Teddy, it's possibly the same night, but it's not long after, except it's almost 5 a.m. You've got time to get to your apartment, and we'll say you're a little hungry, but you could probably go. You could probably go another night. And as you say goodnight, and Thunder says, "You sure you don't need a ride? Got room in the RAV4?"
I prefer the walk. Thanks.
All right.
You take care of yourself, though.
Thanks for your help. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh. And she tosses you a little tube with 2 bright orange earplugs in it. She's like, "Told me to remember those for you." Because ever since you've been turned, sometimes the drag shows can reach a pitch and decibel that angers the wolf ears a touch, just a touch. So usually dim a little bit because everything gets turned up that night. And Thunder drives away, leaving you to walk, and you're not a block and a half from the underground when you realize There's a Lincoln Town car driving in the street next to you, slightly behind you. It zooms up just a little bit as you go to cross an intersection and stops, turning in slightly, not in a violent or out of control way, but in a way that lets you know they know you're there. And the back window is rolled down. And inside, you see slick back, attractive, cleft chin, strong jawline, Armani t-shirt, silver jacket, small collars. Goes, hop in. We need to have a talk. Opens the door and slides over. You realize now that Marco the Ghoul is driving, and you're about to get into the back of the Lincoln with Salvatore De Laurentiis, a captain in the De Laurentiis crime syndicate, but also a Ventrue.
Teddy, he gets into the car. He gets into the car next to Silvio. He kind of glances across the street. There's a pair of green eyes low to the ground staring at him from out of an alley, and he looks back at Silvio and closes the door. Salvador, sorry.
If you were gonna have the cat come in, he would have been like, no. They steal babies' breaths. They're of the devil. We're not doing that.
Nope, Grim just watches from the alleys. And he says, "You didn't take me for the kind of guy who'd cruise." If you catch my drift.
I'm not looking to exchange any fluids. Hey, listen. There are older customs than us, and sorry if we got off on the wrong foot. In some days, in certain times, as recently as I'm told, the 50s, you would have had to ask my permission to even feed there. We're not going to talk about that. Now that I know you're in place, I think I can reduce what they have to kick up. How do you feel about that?
And what would you want? What would you want from me there then?
I could always use a soldier. And he sniffs, but as he leans in, he sniffs you up, and it's maybe a little revealingly homoerotic.
Is Marco the guy who was in the bar to collect, or is that guy
Yes,
not around?
Marco's driving.
Okay.
You're in the back seat with his
Okay.
his boss. Marco's a soldier, and Salvatore's a capo.
Mhm,
Capo.
mhm, mhm.
In every way, you're not my type, but I think we can come to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. They will pay half of what they pay now, so $750 a month. Okay, we keep the cops out of there. We keep some of the worst of it from happening. We'll make sure your clientele aren't roughed up within a couple of blocks of the place. Put in some protection that way. We've already been doing that. But with you there, what I want is if any other of our kind go there to feed, I want to know. And I don't need anything done. I don't need you going outside your comfort. What I need to know is what I need to know. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. But if we're gonna do this, you're not gonna be sending any more of your fleas. And he gestures to the guy up front. In.
He adjusts the
You're gonna have to come.
He adjusts the Crown air freshener on the dashboard a little nervously.
You're gonna have to come in yourself to collect. It's a respect thing, and you know about respect.
To get respect, you got to give respect. All right. I'll grace you with my
Tell me,
presence.
do you know what tucking is?
What? Is that your cat? I said the cat had to walk.
What?
Sorry, it's my cat. She heard that there.
Do you know what?
She heard there was a cat in the story and was like, "Really? You need an actor? I got this."
Sorry. Do you know what tucking is?
No, I don't. What was that? Saving something like for Christmas presents?
So, the queens, at least the ones in male identified bodies, what they got to do to get that nice, smooth front is they got to take their stuff and they kind of push it back into a cavity.
Hey, I don't need to know all that. Go on.
Yeah. And then they tape it back. And they
Tape?
perform and they twirl and they do splits and they do all of that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what that's like?
Sounds like the circus is in town. And Marco laughs because, boss made a joke. Huh. So what you're saying is I should come and see some of this artistry for myself before I go having preconceived notions built on thousands of years of tradition? Are you inviting me to come see what it is you do? Or what it is you provide protection for? I'm not saying you're on my payroll, but I'm just trying to see what you're getting at.
I think you could probably appreciate it. I'm also saying if your flea comes in and disrespects me one more time, he's going to be tasting his balls.
I'm sure he already has. Whoa, boss! I'm just kidding. Just breaking balls back here. Yours, in fact. All right. And I think this will work out all right. And he smiles at you, and it's friendly, but his eyes are gray. There's no warmth in his eyes. And all of his smiles, and all of his gestures and body language, it's all practiced. All right. Mind if we let you out here? We know you live in the neighborhood, but I haven't asked any of my boys downtown what that address is, and we'll keep it that way. Out of respect. Good? You're muted.
Oh,
That's okay.
you're good.
All right.
And he'll get out of the car.
And as you get out of the car, you shut the door. You're pretty sure that wasn't the engine popping off, but you think you heard Salvatore smack Marco in the back of the head. And you're not sure what to make of all that. You're also not sure what to make of the message that's on your answering machine when you get back to your apartment. As you play it, it says, "Hey, Cub, I'm real sorry about the state I left you in and had to get out of town for a while. If you knew what I knew, you'd understand, and maybe you'll forgive me. Listen, I'm going to be coming back in a few weeks. I left you the sun bag. Lay low, and if you're approached, play it cool. There's others of our kind, and they've all got their beep." And it was your sire.
Hearing the voice, his hair kind of stands up on end. He thinks when he left Lobo's place after crashing there for a couple weeks before returning and figuring out what his new life was going to look like, he took one of Lobo's shirts because it smelled like him. And eventually that smell just got so overwhelming and so powerful, he took it out back and buried it. And it just reminds him of that whole thing, kind of shudders a little bit, and then Grim comes in through a crack in the open window, slides in kind of like sleek like smoke, and Teddy goes, "It's about that time, isn't it, Grim?" And he takes out a pocket knife from his pocket. It has like a deer antler handle, flips it open, and he's gonna cut his finger and will some of his blood to the surface. That's a
Grim,
rouse, isn't it?
yep, absolutely. Rouse check. Grim feeds hungrily at first, and then more gingerly on the wound. And does your Famulus talk?
I do not have the ability to actually speak with him yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's all more instinctual. Yep.
Okay.
I do not have feral whispers yet. So
Okay. He came in here with a little bit of an agenda. He was distracted by the feeding, grateful for it, and then remembers and does one of those kitty cat stretches and then saunters to the window that he crawled in from and just stares out at it. And the sky is beginning to lighten. But sometimes when your cats stare at things, you want to see what they're looking at because they see what you cannot.
yeah, Teddy crosses to the window to give him some scritches on the seal and look out, see what he's looking at.
2 roofs over is a hawk on a chimney, staring at your window. And in the lightening, the sky as it begins to lighten reflects on its eye, and you see its eye folds its nictitating membrane as it dives into the alley, catches a thermal, and flies away.
I pull the curtain. It's like a red check plaid curtain, blackout curtain shut.
And as day rises, you descend into dreams of musky bears you hope to see again soon. And as we have a wide shot of city street, night, rain soaked, a light in the back of a shop that would be abandoned if somebody could get away with it, in the old Providence building. And Beckett, you are there having the place to yourself. You've sent your staff home. Billy Bidwell left a little while ago. The other guy's got a couple of days off to go to Rochester for some shows or whatnot. But as you're sorting out the proper order of the Velvet Underground, you feel a presence in your brain and a voice you cannot deny as Prince Luca calls you and says, Beckett, it's been too long. I'm going to need you to come see me. I like to think that now the prince's voice will be carried
Yeah, Kitty.
on the winds of cats.
It just comes with a little,
Now, kitty, that's my Velvet Underground.
It's my banana. My banana.
Mom, Kitty's being a Nico. I don't know. I was going to say banana, but you said banana, so I was like, quick, Velvet Underground, go somewhere else other than Lou Reed's penis.
And then go to Lou Reed's penis.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I had a response plan there for a second.
So the really cool thing is there's rules for this. And it's a bit of me. I'm not revealing my hand of the main story, but I did say we would meet the prince. I didn't mean the royal we. But I'm going to make a check because the prince is actually using a power to, I believe it's called Summon You. So the user needs to concentrate for 5 minutes and think of the person being summoned, and then rolls manipulation plus presence versus your composure plus intelligence. Would you like me to roll first, or would you like to roll first?
I'll go for it.
You'll go for it?
No, you go for it.
Okay, cool. Then manipulation
I'm,
plus.
I'm, I'm not picky.
I just like how clean the opposed rolls are in 5th edition Vampire. There's,
Yeah,
there's
it
a
is
lot of
pretty
things where I'm
clean.
like, that's so good. Why didn't we do it like that before?
Mhm.
All right.
And mine, you rattled it off pretty quick. So mine
Oh, yeah.
is
Mine's manipulation
intelligence
plus
and
presence,
composure.
and yours is composure plus intelligence. So I'm going to do
Okay, cool.
manipulation plus presence. So I don't want to
Mhm.
reveal what my manipulation is, but I'm probably going to anyway.
What's going on, man? Then. Ooh.
Okay, so that's 2. It says failure, but that's because you rolled against a difficulty number that's not actually there.
Yeah.
And I've got. I don't think I've done this before. Here we go. No,
Really bad. Oh.
let's just do it this way. Thanks for everybody. Appreciate you. Okay, I got 4, and you got 2. So, in Vampires, one of the few RPGs where you get to say, I win. But the way this works is on a win, the target hears the summoning, but may or may not heed it. On a critical win, the target arrives as quickly as possible, barring immediate risk to their well-being. So it was not a critical win, but it was a win. So you can choose to ignore it, but you know the prince is summoning you and says, "Come and see me at my place. We've much to discuss."
Is this an open channel?
No,
Like, can I respond to that? No, it's
no,
just a missive, and then Beckett is just
no.
sitting
That
there.
that
I'm
would
just trying to
be
set the scene.
Auspex 5. This is Presence 4.
Yeah. Um,
It's a one party state.
yeah,
It's a page.
yeah. Um, I think there's Beckett is alone in the record store, probably in an underground room full of like weird, there's like statues and paintings, not even on walls, just like hung up with canvas in between them. And it's just like, you, you. And I
Tom,
think
you're
you
on
muted
mute.
Tom.
So you go. Do you answer the summons?
I don't have to go immediately, right? Isn't there a timeline, and is this not the same summons
Oh, it's just the
as
one
last time?
summons. And you don't have to go immediately. You don't even have to go. But if you don't go by sunup, or if you go like right before sunup, both send messages. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah,
not an open.
Beckett's gonna go, but go not right before sunup, but later than they should go.
So you have a wonderful excuse to leave early if it's not going well. Gotcha. Okay. The prince's abode is a property known as the Mayfair Mansion. It's on Mayfair Lane, and it's a private street that has a gate to get in, and it's sort of the northern border of the Allentown neighborhood. And the gate is open as you walk past some very, very nice, well appointed homes to the end of the lane where there is this castle that was built in the late 1800s. In fact, I believe the architecture that lived here, the architect that lives here and designed this house, also designed the Psych Center, but I could be wrong about that. But it's a rather ostentatious affair. There are even two cannons and a very castle-like gate. There's no moat, but there are cannons. They're at the door, on either side of the door, but pointing slightly askew. And you know as you approach this front door that the angle of those cannons is of sacred geometric principles, and you hate him for that.
Yeah.
The door is
And
also
my body is literally covered in tattoos that fuck with sacred geometric principles. So it's imprinted on my body how much I hate that.
And you do remember the last time you saw the prince that they had made an offhanded joke about. We could have been Tremere. And it was
You could have been Tremere.
And it was pretentious when he said it. You weren't sure the context then, but it's like so many things with Prince Luca. Now, Prince Luca is over 6 foot tall, wafy, wispy, faint of features, not a strong jaw or a strong nose, but sort of a inviting, vapid is the best way to describe the attraction that those have. Sort of a thin white Duke motif, definitely borrowing more than just one page from Bowie. But although they play harp and piano and they paint and they sculpt, Luca is not terribly gifted at any of those. And although they are an appreciator of the arts, they are not an artiste themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
The house appears to be abandoned. You know that there's probably guards about somewhere, but as you walk in, the great hall greets you not long after the crossing the threshold, and under the portcullis or portcullis, if you wish to put an accent on it. Luca also occasionally uses words incorrectly, inviting people to correct him. This is a medieval.
Yes, piece of shit.
This is a very much modeled after a great hall in a European castle style motif, except the lines that are drawn with it terminate in points instead of rounding. So it's almost like uncompleted protection sigils. And it's probably not an accident. I'm so glad you found the time to come here. Walking down a massive staircase, dressed in a silk smoking jacket and pajama bottoms. The jacket is open to reveal a chiseled white marble chest, a single, fresh edition nipple ring.
Christ.
With a tattoo under it to look like it has a tattoo under it that looks much like a wound with blood drops. Very messianic, as if to imply they've been stabbed by the spear of destiny.
Beckett has a black t-shirt, very like low cut, that looks like it might be a band t-shirt, but nothing is identifiable. There might be like an invented language right here, and then symbols not unlike the ones on their body. No one knows what that is. Probably cut off. Their piercings are weird. They have this mess of black hair on one side that curls around Aeon Flux style in a way that makes no sense, except for that you're a fucking vampire, so it just stayed that way. The other side is shaved. Beckett is following this person, and it's just like,
can I get you a refreshment?
I think getting to the point would be a refreshment.
You wound me. Are you in a hurry? Do you have someplace else to be?
So easily wounded. Are you?
Just my pride.
Not interested.
Listen, you've been around the block a few times,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
there's a number of, well, let's call them lost souls that have come to my attention, and I want you, with your skills, to put them at ease and to task. Will you do that for me?
The rest, please, if you don't mind.
3 of them. I'll provide you with the particulars, but a gangrel,
Understood.
a Malkavian, and a Bruja. I didn't know we had Bruja here. That may need some addressing, because I strongly suspect that this Bruja was sired by someone I banished. We've the luxury of time.
You realize that I don't care about that detail, right? So, the fact that this Bruja was sired by someone that you banished, what does that mean to you? Because to me,
I want to know if they are here to cause me inconvenience, grief, or worse. Stuart, come, offer our guest a drink. And with that, somebody rises from a well-appointed fainting couch and comes to you and absently offers you their wrist, which they have taken the liberty of opening with a small knife.
Beckett just goes,
It's not my hospitality you're turning down, is it?
I have taste.
I heard that about you, and I do appreciate the recommendations to expand my library. And if I ever need any records on cuneiform, you're the first person I'll call. I'll
That makes sense.
have one of my people send over the addresses. If you could collect them, and I'm going to ask that you honor the custom of vouchsafe and bring them to my garden party at the Artisan Model Affair. Spring is just around the corner, and you may introduce me officially, and I won't have to make a lot of excuses.
In condition, could you please not use the word garden party and then peasants again?
It's at the Rose Garden, and it is a party. I will call it the Artists and Models Affair.
Specificity. Specificity. Thank you. So, you mean Teddy Green? He likes some emo stuff. I've met him. We get along. The others I don't know. So send that information along, will you?
Certainly. It's been a pleasure.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
he absently reaches over to the pull string that will lower the portcullis as if to say, it's time to go. And seriously, folks, check it out on Zillow. This place I'm talking about is actually on sale right now, so you can take a tour of the house.
That's awesome.
Gonna say thank you everybody for joining us. Whoopsie doo. I gotta say some thanks. Got some shouts to give out. And thank you to Incompetech, Kevin McLeod, for our music. Alexander Nakarada. I'm going to go ahead and drop the songs we got in there. Hey, check us out next week. We're going to do this every Wednesday for a while. This is our mini series. We're looking at probably 6 to 8 episodes in shape. And next Saturday night, check out Kev's Outlaws of Alkenstar. We're playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Very fun crew, and look forward to seeing you there. Let me go ahead and do the grunt work there. There we go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Smiteworks for this, for this wonderful virtual tabletop that looks as vampire as anything I would have designed myself. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope to see you in a week. And say goodnight, everybody.
Special thanks to the chat. Y'all were on fire tonight.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
Solid. We
That was
love
fun
you.
chat.
Thanks, chat. Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
y'all. We'll see you next week.